Hey, everybody. Welcome back to SwingBadder. I know you missed us, so don't forget. Subscribe and like us. Hey, Dad. Hey, Todd. How we doing today?
Good.
Fantastic.
Above average.
Well, above average is wonderful. We have another offseason in baseball. We had some fun stories. The Mets finally got their guy. So Todd's going to be celebrating big, giant home runs. Mr. Soto signed, and I think...
and I'll gladly pay $45 for a beer for the rest of my life. Thank you.
There you go, Mets fans. He's all on board. What was the funny part about this deal to me? I think we just went over this a little bit ago. Was he needed to have his own suite? Correct? He got a suite.
Yeah, it was his own family suite at Citi Field.
So that's for him. He does not pay for the whole contract, or is it his lifetime?
I think it's for the contract.
Okay.
But it's 15 years. So, I mean, after 50, but it's for the whole family, yeah.
So the question to our viewers that I want to know, how many games will he be watching from the suite during that 15-year contract?
Come on.
Because he didn't get the suite because he's going to be in the dugout.
Some people like their family, and they want their family to be able to enjoy the game.
Which brings me to the main topic of today is players who should be in the suite for their entire duration of a contract. Todd, please share this entertaining stats and figures.
So I got this off of Twitter. This guy's just a great baseball follow. It's at Not Gaetti. It's NOTGAETTI. At Not Gaetti tweeted this out, and it's a graphic. And he likes tweeting these out because you got to compare the WAR of different players at different times, and it's pretty funny. So he goes, Ted Williams actually played more baseball during the 5 years that included his World War II service than Anthony Rendon has during 5 years of his $245 million contract with the Angels so far. I'm going to need a second to fully absorb this. Ted Williams missed 3 years for World War II and still played more games than Anthony Rendon has. So if we look at this image here,
hold on. We have Dad here. Dad, what is that? Does that bring back fond memories of the great baseball players of the World War era?
Oh, amazing!
When you were alive, or during that, or
all the good players were off fighting the war. It was pretty awesome.
So the fact that he went and served, you said 3 years he served.
Correct. So this, with the years that he's got here, are 1942 to 1946. He's got stats for, and then he's got Anthony Rendon is 2020 through 2024.
Dear God.
So here, I'm going to share this here.
The good news to everybody who's listening, Anthony Rendon's contract was probably enough to fund, I would say, a good portion of World War II.
That's the other stat. How much did the United States spend on World War II? Because this graphic that he shares here, this is classic. So if you could see that, you've got Ted Williams played 300 games. Anthony Rendon played 257 games. And there was no World War. There's no World War. Ted Williams, 74 home runs.
Hold on. I know LA is going through it. I mean, God bless all those folks who went through the wildfires. Anthony Rendon's lived through some terrible natural disasters.
Yeah, it's rough.
So
it's rough.
I know it's not World War II level, but for Californians, it's pretty bad.
There is one stat where he beat Ted Williams. He had 10 stolen bases during that time. Ted only had 3.
I mean, wow.
Look at this. You get 74 home runs to 22. You've got 1,300 plate appearances to 1,000.
Did Ted Williams ever punch anyone?
I'm going to say he did. I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe a newspaper reporter.
Jeez, look at this on-base percentage. Is that 498?
Yeah.
This is brutal. Unreal. There he is.
$245 million contract. So in the theme of Mr. Anthony Rendon and all of these wonderful baseball signings, what does that make you feel about Juan? We don't need to be looking at this. This is just going to make people so sick.
I'm trying to stop the screen share here for just a second.
This is our technical crew here, everybody. This is IT extraordinaire for those people.
I out now. Mm-hmm.
If you're going to cut anything, don't cut your IT department.
There you go.
Tragic.
Keep IT. And next time you share something. How do I feel about Juan Soto? So Juan Soto is either the highest paid 45-year-old on the planet, or this is a really good deal. Because the guy's 26, he's going to play through 41. If he's 5 years older than he is, and he ends up being 45, 46 years old in the last few years of his contract, we actually signed Albert Pujols to 15 years.
I was going to say that because Albert Pujols, I did read a nice defense article about Albert Pujols as an Angel, that he wasn't as terrible as people thought he was, but he was not what he was as a Cardinal. That's for sure. So
I think it was actually not Gaetti. It was the same one. If you look at the last 10 years of Pujols' career, he hit 500 home runs.
I mean,
he's a Hall of Fame career with the Angels, but nobody talks about it.
It wasn't pretty. I mean, maybe it's just the Angels uniform, but it just wasn't pretty to me on the Angels. I just don't know if Juan Soto is the missing piece. I think the Mets had a wonderful last year. It was very exciting, and they piggybacked on that with Juan. The biggest problem that I think the Mets have is they're in the National League. And the National League has one team that seems to be getting all the players. So I don't know if Juan gets you there, but I will say in a baseball playoff series, if we're still doing the wild card play-in, best of 5, then best of 7, the powerful teams can be knocked out. That's been proven time and time and time again in the playoffs.
But enough about the Marlins. That's, as they say.
When I read that thing about Rendon, my mind went to the Angels. Now, just bear with me for a second. The Dodgers signed Ohtani. Now, I know they deferred a lot, but for about $1 billion, okay? And everyone was so shocked and so shocked. They make so much money from the Japanese market that Ohtani makes them money no matter what they pay him. So I thought to myself, well, then they signed other great Japanese players. It's Japan is all Dodgerland now. I thought to myself, the Angels had that opportunity. He was their player, and they couldn't see it. They couldn't see the money they could make from Japan. And, you know, it's an amazing organization to have Ohtani and Mike Trout, Hall of Famers, never go. Did they play in any playoff games?
Not together. No. Yeah. Mike Trout did play with Albert Pujols in one series.
It's
unbelievable. You're not wrong.
It's unbelievable how they messed that up. And the Rendon's just another example how they mess things up. No,
to put some toppings on your point here, they had, when they signed Anthony Rendon, they have Mike Trout, they had already signed Pujols, they added Rendon, and they added Ohtani. Those were 4 of the players that were going to be in your lineup to bring you into the playoffs, and they didn't even make the playoffs during COVID. They shortened the season, and I said, this is the year the Angels can get in, and they just drive right off the cliff. Now, you don't hear any pitchers going to the Angels, obviously, but at the same time, to your point, that is a crazy thing that will be on sports trivia, especially baseball trivia forever. Ohtani and Mike Trout were together, and the first thing that anyone should ask is, so how many World Series did they go to? Because their stats are going to be unbelievable. When they retire, both of their stats are going to be great. Add in Albert Pujols, you go, oh, yeah, they definitely went to a series. They didn't went to one.
You had 2 players last year that missed basically the whole season. That were major impacts for their team in Acuna and Trout. major impacts for their team. And they're going to have an impact in the coming season. The Dodgers are so stupid good. Like, so stupid good. If they don't win 130 games, what is happening? Like, how do you not win 130 games with that lineup and the pitching?
Can we go back to the end of the year during the World Series when they were celebrating and the announcers who love the Dodgers were saying,
Oh, God.
can you believe how much this team has overcome? I can't wait to hear that again as the Dodgers come trying to repeat and they have injuries and everyone's like, man, this team is overcome.
I want to bring
it
around. I want to bring it around because you're talking about, is Soto the missing piece for New York?
Yes.
No. He's a really big part of it, though, because it's never going to be just one. It's not just one guy. And that's the problem the Angels had. If we just add this one third baseman who hates baseball, or we just have this, it's never just one guy, which is why, yes, the Soto thing is important because you need more offensive oomph in that lineup. You still got Vientos, who's not going away. You still got Lindor, who had just an incredible year last year. And Pete Alonso, whether he comes back or not, you just need one more extra bat there. And the offense will do what the offense does. It's not going to be horribly terrifying, but it's a good offense.
So here's your problem.
It's what Stearns does with the pitching and how the pitching performs in the playoffs that makes all the difference.
Well, let's just talk about getting there. So here's your problem with the NL East. The Phillies have spent a ton of money. They're a stacked, loaded lineup on offense, and they have good pitching.
And old. They are getting old.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying in your division, you got to get out of the division. And then you have the Braves. And I would say that the Braves probably had an off year. They had a lot of injuries. They were really, really struggling, but the Braves are notorious for being competitive. Now, we don't need to talk about the Miami Marlins, Florida Marlins, and then I don't even know who's your fifth team in that division. That's absolutely
the Nationals.
Oh dear God!
That's all right. They forgot they played baseball too.
Oh my Lord! Did forget that how terrible that team is. So you have three legitimate teams there. All three teams should make the playoffs. Here's where the problem comes in. Then you had the NL Central. We all know one team gets in there. They're just not. They don't have the. No one's spent a lot of money there. I think one team gets in.
The Reds are going to be great.
That's fine, but the Reds will eliminate the Brewers and the Cardinals. There's not going to be two teams that just light it up. All those teams are going to be bunched together. Then you have the NL West. The Dodgers have spent all the money in the world. You think they should win 130? Okay, fine, sure. The Padres have also spent a ton of money. The Padres have a legitimate organization. The Diamondbacks are not terrible. They are. No. They're good. We all know the Rockies and the Nationals, same category. It's been nice, but you've already been eliminated. And then again, the fourth team in that division is
Giants.
The Giants. And the Giants are hit and miss, but right now they're not hitting.
Padres are actively shopping King. They're actively shopping Cease. Like the Padres are going to acquiesce the next 2-3 years and then look to build.
So I would say that you have the NL East. Again, this is my thoughts going into the year. This is why the Mets have it hard. They're not in the NL West where I could see them beating the Diamondbacks because they have more firepower and the Padres if they give up on things. But you have legitimately 6 teams between the NL West and the NL East that you could say should make the playoffs. There's not enough room.
And you don't win it with offense. You can win a lot of games with offense, but you're not going to win the championship. Here's a shocker. Do you know which team scored the most runs in the National League last year? The Arizona Diamondbacks.
That is very shocking.
Yeah. And if
I know, halfway through the season, their offense was here's
the deal.
Before the year, would you say them over the Phillies and the Braves?
No,
and
you
the
look
Dodgers?
at
this.
No, you're right. But in the end, when those close games in the playoffs and the Mets had some exciting wins, man, the pitchers you bring in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, they got to be good. I looked at it this way, being a Dodger hater. And the Dodgers have purchased this incredible team. I don't think they're going in 130, but I do believe my 6-year-old grandson could manage them and they'd win 110. but if they are just
Oliver, don't cut him short. Oliver would manage a bunch of stuff.
But that whatever it happens here, here's what I said. How do you compete against that? And I thought about, there is an example for us. The Tampa Bay Rays. Every year they go into the season and they don't have the money. They don't have the big name players. But for some reason, they were able to compete. Now, how did they do it? Sound defense, each player's having their roles, and a bullpen that'll kill you. They have like 6 or 7 guys that throw the ball 100 miles an hour who are 21 to 24 years old. They're not making a lot of money yet. And they beat you with the bullpen and the defense. And if you want to compete against the Dodgers anywhere along the way, to me, you got to start thinking like that, because you're not going to be able to field an offensive. What do they got? 7 starters who are all really good.
It's basically the NL All-Stars.
Yeah, so you got to say, well, here's how we're going to do it. And baseball's an interesting game. It's especially in the playoffs. Brennan, you and I have talked about this. So in the playoffs, anything goes. In hockey, a goalie can take a last-place team to the Stanley Cup. In baseball, pitching can defeat anybody.
Right. And if I were to go back to when the Diamondbacks made the World Series against the Rangers, the Phillies bullpen destroyed them. That was their Achilles heel. It destroyed them against the Diamondbacks in the series. They were up 2-0. Their bullpen surrenders leads in the Diamondback Stadium, and the Diamondbacks come back to win, which nobody could have even imagined after the first 2 games. So that's your National League. That's the big question about Juan Soto. I agree with you. It's not one player, but when you have 6 teams and only 4 of those teams will get in. What, 4? Yeah, 4 of those teams, because you're going to have one. You get 5 or 6 now.
You get 1 from the Central.
1 from the Central. That's 5.
You get 3 division winners and 3 wild card.
So one of those teams is out. One of those 6.
Well, no, they eliminate themselves because in playing each other, they stack loss.
Yeah, but they redid the schedule, so now they play the American League a lot. It's really different.
So stupid now.
The schedule doesn't allow the elimination of itself. It actually benefits one division over another depending on who you play in the American League. Because if you get the Sacramento A's, which we will call them the Sacramento A's this year, everybody. Yeah. If you get the Sacramento A's.
So what are you thinking? Like right now, just based where things are, you have the Dodgers, and then what are you saying? Who's coming out of the Central? The Reds?
I just think injury. I think the Dodgers are a lock, and I think that injuries will play a toll on the rest of the teams. If you were to say who are my locks right now, I think Dodgers and Padres I would put as a lock in the playoffs.
Padres are not a lock for the playoffs.
I'm just telling you what you said. You said what I think. I think Padres and Dodgers are in. I think the Diamondbacks are that 6th team that could easily be the 2nd team or the second wild card team in. In the NL East, I have one of those teams having injuries. I can see the Phillies having a lot of injuries and being hurt. Their defense is not that good because they relied too much on offense, and they just haven't spent the money on the bullpen that I would expect them to do to take them to the next level. So I would say the Phillies could take a step back this year, but again, I could see the Mets struggling because my biggest problem with huge contracts, let's just say they sign Pete. If you sign Pete and you sign Juan to these big deals, the player always tries to play to the whole contract their first year. It's very rare that a player comes in and performs like they always do because they're trying to either do too much, or the worst case scenario is that the player comes in out of shape. That would be the worst thing. After you sign a big deal and they come in and they gained a couple extra pounds, they're not looking that good and they're not looking that fresh. So, to me, the odd man out would be one of the NL East teams. But I'm basing that on injury.
I am having a problem making any predictions this year until I study these lineups. I have not known a lot. Todd does, not me. The Mets seem to have lost a couple of starters, and I don't know if they've replaced them. So that's a concern of mine. I don't know what their starting depth is. And obviously the whole pitching staff. I don't know how deep they are in the pen either, but I'm sure they'll have it figured out.
Mets have 11 relievers for 7 spots. Yeah, they've signed 11 relievers for 7 spots, and I think they have something like 5 or 6 starters, and there's talk of trades for either Dylan Cease or King from the Padres. I know that was pretty hot and heavy because they're still looking for another starter. I do not think the Padres come out of the West. I think the Dodgers come out of the West. I think the Reds come out of the Central, and I think you, maybe if you're lucky, you get an extra team in one of the other divisions, but I think the rest of it comes from the East.
I'd like to go back to what we started on, talking about the Mets and Juan Soto, but shift a little bit. I have trouble. I mean, I watched Pete Alonso in the playoffs, and he was a miracle man. He hit so many big hits. In fact, the one in Milwaukee when they were eliminated in the 9th inning against the best closer in baseball, and he hits a 3-run homer. He was amazing. But at the end of the year, the guy's a 240 hitter. So he's kind of like, almost like Dave Kingman. You look for the long ball or nothing. And I don't know, if he wants to ask a lot of money out of me, I'm not sure I'm that interested in him.
The Mets offered 3 years, $70 million, and it was rejected. And that was down from 3 years, $90 million, which was down from 7 years, $156 million last year as an extension. I think that Pete pushed this last season because he felt like he had rejected the extension, and he thought he could get so much more. You saw this when he did the home run derby. When he did the home run derby, he had that old guy that was pitching to him. As soon as he lost in that first round, because the guy was inconsistent, not throwing fast enough, his location was all over the place. Pete was nice enough to bring the guy in for the 40 millionth time to pitch to him. And as soon as he lost that, I turned to Nick and I turned to my wife and I was like, he just cost himself millions of dollars. Because he looked horrible. And he continually chases sliders away, which is a tough pitch for anybody. But he just is notorious. That's the strikeout pitch. That's the call on him. But yeah, I think 3 years, $70 million is fair with an opt-out after the first year if you really prove yourself. Because he's not going 34, 35. He's got that. That's it.
So here's the bigger question: who is the Mets competing with? Because if you told me he signed for 3 years, $70 million for another team, I would say, oh, that's pretty reasonable. But if you said somebody signed him for 3 years,
nobody's offering him that
150, 120, I would say that's pretty nutty.
Like there was talk the Mariners were going after him. There were talk the Blue Jays were really heavily involved. Nothing.
Yeah.
Yankees signed Paul Goldschmidt for a year. And Pete Alonso was standing there saying, I want to stay in New York. Nothing happened. I don't think Pete Alonso goes anywhere else because I don't think anybody else is interested at the level that replaces the emotional attachment to the Mets.
So right now you're saying the Mets are bidding against themselves?
No, I don't think that. I don't think they are bidding against themselves. I think they're bidding against some idea that Pete has in his head of what he's worth. That did not manifest itself last year. To your point, is a 240.
Well, what he's worth is what someone will pay him, and I don't hear any other. Like you said, are there any other teams coming up with a decent offer? Obviously not.
Listen, I like the guy. I got this like geeky little like weird like thing to him, and he just wants to be a part of the crowd and everything like that. And it's great. But you played your whole career and you're thinking this is your money year and this is when you're going to get paid, and you've rejected the extension for $156 million, and suddenly you turn around and you're being offered half. It's rough.
I understand the sting. You mentioned a name that again, for Mets fans, I totally understand that. This is where I'm going to divert everyone. Paul Goldschmidt signs with the Yankees. I'm going to go back to the moment that Paul left the Diamondbacks. And the Diamondbacks fans were sad. And then they picked up Nolan. They had Nolan Arenado, and the Colorado Rockies paid for that. And then the Cardinals got Paul Goldschmidt. And I thought, this organization is so genius. They just got the corners. They're going to be legitimate. And those two guys on that team did nothing. They were good. They didn't play bad, but the team didn't perform. And the two of them did not perform, especially when needed. And I would have lost all the bets on that. I thought they had the NL Central locked up when they got those two guys. So the fact that that experiment is now over, Paul is in New York, which I think is probably pretty good for him.
It's great for him.
But at the end of the day, if you look back at what the Cardinals did, because again, if you at that moment, I don't think you'll find anyone who thought they did anything bad. Everything they did there was genius.
Well, one of the issues here is that we don't have a real Yankee fan here. But I did read an article, and I don't know all the names, but they said the Yankees lost Soto, and they started to list them. Goldschmidt, Bellinger, and some other people.
Yankees had a great offseason. I don't care about the Soto
Yankees
loss.
Improved by losing Soto. Because with
Yes.
the money they saved, they got their lineup stacked.
I think I don't like writers who do that because they act like there's a cap on money. But they're trying to compare, like, if you were going to spend this money, this is what we spent it on instead. It's kind of like, I went shopping and I saved 20%. No, you didn't. You still spent the money.
That's Hal Steinbrenner. It's not George's team anymore. Hal Steinbrenner's been very clear about the fact that it's not an infinite money loop like it was with George, where I'll just buy everybody. Hal Steinbrenner's been very upfront about the fact that he has a limit on what he's going to spend. And when they did not sign Soto, I actually think that was better for the Yankees. The Mets had to sign Soto after last season. There was no option. For what Cohen is trying to build in Flushing, which goes beyond just the Mets, that whole park, the casino, the hotel, he's building an entertainment empire. He needed Juan Soto.
That's
had
fair.
to sign him.
That's fair, especially after the World Series.
By not signing Juan Soto, and I couldn't figure out why Yankee fans were so emotionally attached to the idea that like Juan Soto owed them something because they traded for Rent-A-Cop for a year. You ended up with Goldschmidt, who's an improvement over Joey Gallo.
True.
Like by miles.
Especially on defense. Paul Goldschmidt is one of the best first base defenders.
What are we comparing him to Gallo for? Isn't he?
No. Rizzo. You're talking about Rizzo.
Rizzo, sorry.
Yeah, he's
Rizzo.
Two consonants.
Rizzo made that
L.
defensive error. That was terrible. And the pitcher never went off the mound. That was bad. But I'm telling you, Paul Goldschmidt's excellent on defense. Bellinger in the outfield, that's great.
God, what a great... I love Cody Bellinger.
What's crazy about Cody's story is he was on the Dodgers to start with, and he goes to the Cubs, and he goes to the Yankees. You talk about playing for all of your dream teams as a kid. Dodgers, Cubs,
like
Yankees.
Every stadium, like every kid imagines, like, I'm going to be at Wrigley or I'm going to be at Yankee Stadium. Yeah.
So, again, I agree with you that the Mets had to make a splash. Juan Soto was excellent in the World Series.
Yankees also got Tim Hill. Mm-hmm. Yankees got Max Fried. The Max Fried signing to go with.
Do you like that a lot,
man?
He was with the Braves, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
the Braves did not get better this offseason. The Yankees are a better team going into this next year, and they are going to be the favorites coming out of the American League.
So the farm systems are also really where some of these teams can allow people to go. The Braves have an excellent farm system, and so do the Dodgers. My biggest frustration right now with the Dodgers is I know their farm system is amazing, and I know they have amazing starters, and they continue to sign people. So again, if you're in the farm system of the Dodgers, they can trade their minor leaguers who are good for players that will help them get over the edge. I will just say this right now. The Pirates pitcher who just finished his first year, if he gets traded to the Dodgers, he gets traded to the Dodgers for some minor leaguers in like a year or two or three. It would be so frustrating. He's an elite pitcher. He's going to be fantastic. He's going to make tons and tons of money. Pirates aren't going to keep him.
Yeah, since he came up, I said he's going to be a Dodger because he's going to hit that point when he's a free agent and he's going to go to the biggest bidder that equals Doge.
Pirates ownership sucks.
Yes, we all
legitimately is like one of the worst owners in baseball.
Weren't we trying to figure out how to buy the Pirates?
We were. We're still working on that. Don't forget to like and subscribe for us to work on that goal for
some super chats will help us get the money for buying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, seriously. Subscribe in Bitcoin.
So I think the Yankees are legitimate. Obviously, on the AL East, if we're going American League, I think if you're looking at the New York territories, the Mets should be super happy because they got what they wanted. They got some sparks. The Yankees are super happy because, it's a 162-game season and they want to get back there. My question about New York and the feeling, the Yankees fumbled that World Series.
Literally.
So bad that I still can't believe when I replay that in my brain, like the errors, the miscues, having that lead, like feeling like this is it. The Yankees are finally showing up. And Cole's pitching great. You don't see any blowback to this year from that year. You don't see Judge taking a step back. You just see them coming in.
No, Judge is going to move back to right field.
Bellinger's in center.
He shouldn't have been in center field, and he's not a center fielder. Bellinger's a better center fielder.
I don't disagree with you.
They have a better first baseman. So defensively, you're getting better. You're probably offensively a better team.
It's funny. It's what you just said. It's funny because the two plays that are legitimately playing my brain is the error in center field, which you just said they corrected, and the error on Rizzo.
Yeah.
But both of those we got Paul Goldschmidt, we got Bellinger. And I have nothing to say other than those are great signings. They're going to, that's improvements.
When we do this, it's always human nature to go to the big names and the big contracts. And yet, in the World Series, and this happens all the time, there's some guy who you've never heard of. The Yankees couldn't get this guy out. Entman?
Yeah,
his
the donut guy.
His family owns that Entman bakery that's making America fat. RFK's trying to close him down.
Who'd he sign with, though? He got cut.
Yeah,
is he still in the Dodgers?
The Yankees couldn't get that guy out the whole World Series.
Nobody could.
No, I think the Dodgers signed him. He's going to be a bat boy on the team, but in the World Series, they couldn't get that guy out.
You're 100%.
And I kept saying, who is he? I mean, he's delivering baked goods till 9 in the morning, and then he's going to Dodger Stadium. Crazy.
Yeah,
and every year, something stupid like that. That's why I love baseball. Some guy, he comes up to bat, and you say, oh, God, he'll never get a hit. And he hits a grand slam. You say, whoa, I love him now. I got to get his autograph.
Right.
One thing I would love baseball to do in the postseason, I would love that 5-game series to be a 7-game series. I think the wild card round is very quick. They eliminate
the 3-game series.
That eliminates hopes and dreams very fast. But the next series, they go to a 5-game series, and I have never felt that you pay a 162-game season for it to come down to
series.
3 games.
Well,
and if the team that comes off of that wild card typically gives the team that's been sitting a hard time.
The thing is, though, the longer the series, the more you favor the better team.
I would agree.
So if you want to defeat the Dodgers, the whole playoffs should be 3-game series. Right into the World Series.
Well, you gotta hope that in that series, go through the lineup: Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Dear God, that they all suddenly go ice cold.
I mean,
for no fathomable reason.
When the Diamondbacks beat them, that's exactly what their pitching went to the pits, and their hitting went to the pits, and that's how. Again, that's baseball.
But that was the other thing. Was the relievers pitched like a no-hitter for like 5 consecutive games.
The Phillies had them on the ropes. The Phillies had them on the ropes, and then everyone gives all the credit to the manager, but you have all the Stallions in the bullpen. So going into this year, the fun thing that's going to happen with baseball is I think you have the excitement with the right teams. Like, I like the fact the Yankees and Mets are right there. They're really, really trying. I do like the Padres-Dodgers. I mean, I know the Giants fans would like to be there, but they're not where they want to be. The Diamondback fans are pretty excited but hesitant because we play the Dodgers, and it's pretty bad.
Only play them 12 times, and we got Corbin Burns.
And the only thing that I would like to look at is with this new schedule is what NL division plays what AL division the most. because that's going to...
They all play the same teams.
The same amount of time?
The same amount of times.
Yes.
I thought they switched that up with divisions.
I think they play 12 games against the National League teams, if you're in the National League. And when you go to the other league, I think you only play, is it 6 or 3? But you play the same number against every team.
I think it's two series, so it has to be 6 or 8.
So it's even. Everybody basically plays the same teams.
It's
kind of like DEI. Everybody plays the same team. We're not going to favor anybody.
So here's the problem. Here's the problem that I have with this idea of fairness. Is
I knew I'd push your button here.
You can push anybody you want. The idea that this is going to be somehow the injuries, the hot teams versus the cold. Again, that's why it's so much better for a baseball division to play each other a lot, because you get the team when it's hot and you get the team when it's not. So you don't just play them. Like, for instance, the Diamondbacks last year, I believe, played the Dodgers 8 of the 12 times in the first month.
Yep.
But that was every division played themselves in the first month and the last month.
What are we doing?
So at the end of the year, we didn't have to play the Dodgers.
Right, but you get them right off the bat, and it's like, okay, great, so we play the Dodgers. You're not even bringing up you don't see them again until like 6 months. There's not a rivalry. There's nothing. And then you play them at the end of the season, and you're totally different teams. And then here's the thing about the end month of the season. Let's say the Dodgers go to 120. They're just playing for the playoffs. They don't even care. And if you're in the wild card, let's say you locked up the wild card. Let's say you walked up you're getting ready for the wild card series. So you may be playing series that don't even matter anymore in the last month. So baseball has got to fix this with the schedule. They just need to look at it, because at the end of the day, you're taking the divisional rival and you're squashing it. Now, I, as a Diamondback fan, don't mind this, because the Dodger fans in Arizona are absolutely notoriously terrible to watch baseball with. The Philly fans are better. Mets fans are annoying but better. Yankee fans are better. The Dodgers are by far the worst fans to watch baseball in Arizona with.
Well,
Mets fans are actually knowledgeable about the game. That's the issue.
I'm sorry that our president had come up with this plan, because I had another use for Guantanamo Bay, and that would be a house for Dodger fans. But I can't do that now.
Yeah, I still remember the game we went to with Manny Ramirez, and we sat down in our seats. We couldn't even last 2 or 3 innings before we had to go walk around the stadium, because we had a couple ladies in our section that wanted to marry him, and that was like,
oh god.
And Manny Ramirez hitting 600 against the Diamondbacks when he got traded. I think he hit like 750 against us. Like, he got up and it was like
then
automatic.
After the season was over, then they found out that Manny was doing performing.
No way! It's so shocking. Shocking development.
It was so much fun to watch.
Not if you were a Diamondback.
Any other batter, but no other batters could. Manny Ramirez was amazing.
He was. I just the year he
went to
cheated.
the wrong team, Todd. That's the point.
But the year he cheated, he was really amazing.
What do you hear about the year Babe Ruth had when he was cheating?
Want to hear a funny Manny story?
Yeah.
He signed this multi-year contract with the Red Sox after he left Cleveland, and that real estate agent was showing him places to live in Boston. And he looked at the real estate agent and says, "Can I afford this?" And he said, "Manny, you can afford the whole block."
Oh God!
I again, something we don't relate to, but I could totally understand that the amount of money they make is just not real.
I loved it when he just decided to go to the bathroom in the middle of the game.
Yeah,
in Boston, he walked through the door in the wall in left field, and where's the left fielder? And after a little bit, he comes out and says, "Okay, let's play."
Gotta go.
Fantastic. Manny Ramirez with a pitch clock. Can we think about that? There's so many players with a pitch clock. And then to put a bow on this, I just thought a pitch clock, and then I thought of the throwovers. We're supposed to see all these more stolen bases. How many stolen bases would Ricky Henderson have at these rules?
300 in a season.
Like, it is unreal. His stats are unreal. Just as on base percentage. If you look at Ricky Henderson's stats, they seem completely unreal, and he hit for powers too at times. But as far as getting on base second and third, you get a bigger base, and you can only throw over, what was it, twice now?
Twice.
Yeah, there's no chance. There's no
Ricky
chance.
Ricky. You wouldn't have those rules because Ricky Henderson was in the league.
Yeah.
You wouldn't approve those rules with Ricky Henderson in the league because he would single-handedly become the highest paid player in baseball. You would pay him $1 billion because it would be worth it.
So let's, next time we meet, talk about Ricky.
He was such a unique human being. And it's so tragic. I mean, I know he was older, but he certainly wasn't in his 70s or 80s. But
So I got one question before we go. Take a stand right now.
Yeah.
Alonso, a Met, yes or no?
Yeah, he's a Met.
Absolutely.
He's a Met.
there's nowhere else he's going to go. I mean, again, he may not be happy with what he gets. Do they get him for a year? Do they get him for 2? I mean, I don't think either side is happy with how it's going to be arranged, but the marriage is going to be arranged. They are going to walk down the aisle.
It's going to be 3 years with a player opt out after year 1. That's
so
what
here's the sneaky one. Alonso signs with the Rangers to go with DeGrom. That just to get the Mets irritated.
Do they need a first baseman?
It doesn't matter. It's just to irritate the Mets.
They have the DH in the AL,
That's
Todd.
right.
Don't
It
you
can be
remember?
a DH, yeah.
Oh, the DH is everywhere now. We didn't even get into our brother's favorite team, the freaking Rangers.
Oh God, can we get the Ranger fans on here if we're going to talk? If we're going to talk for like 45 minutes, the two of them coming in and talking about would be pretty
I don't
funny.
think they have time to. They're too busy upset about the Cowboys. Cowboys still own that town. But yes, I think he's a Mets. He's with the Mets. I think that's what it is. It'll be interesting to see how the pitching gets handled here in the season. And again, we'll see if the Dodgers can overcome. I don't know if they can do it another year. The challenges they're going to face. I mean, Mookie Betts, I just don't. He may have to play the infield for a little bit. And then who would they put in the outfield? Who do they have to fill in?
How am I going to stuff that much money in my wallet?
Did Freddie Freeman recover from his leg injury? I don't know.
Who cares? They got Toscano Hernandez or whatever like that.
Yeah, that's one. The guy with the blades,
Dear
the
Lord.
sunglasses.
So that's a great time, guys. I got to go in the other room and cry, but I've enjoyed myself.
So that's us. Welcome to our kitchen table. This is SwingBadder as we talk about baseball.
Okay.
Dad, thanks for so much. Todd, always good seeing you. As they say in your house, let's go Mets. As we say over here, let's just win a couple against the Dodgers. All right. Adios.
Bye.
We do some wrap-up music. Do.